Hello and welcome back to another episode of Unmasking on the podcast. Welcome. I am your host, Anna Bonasera. If you're new here, hello. Thank you so much for being here. I am going to dive straight in because I have got a really exciting topic. Now, if you're not in Oxfordshire, this isn't going to be as relevant to you, but I think it's super important to listen to because I am talking about the plans that Oxfordshire, Buckinghamshire and West Berkshire, BOB ICB, if you didn't know what that meant, that's basically what it means, the Integrated Care Board for Buckinghamshire, Oxfordshire and West Berkshire. I was invited to the workshops that they have got the plans for what they're going to be doing for ADHD provision. Now, if you are like me and you are diagnosed, you will know that there is nothing. Unless you go for medication, there is absolutely no other help, no other support available through the NHS, whether you're diagnosed or you're not. And that is about to change. I'm so excited. There were some people during this workshop. It was very small. I think there was about maybe 10 of us, 12 maybe. And some people were very skeptical, and I get that. But I'm just like relieved because I feel like at least there's something is coming. And the man who ran it is a man called Nick Hansen, and he got it. He understands it because he's also ADHD himself. So he has a really unique being able to look into it and how it has affected him and the lack of support there is. So I really felt like it came from the right place. And he was said that this will be the most lived experience input into this plan, into these provisions that are going to be available than anything else that is out there. So I really feel like if we get this right, maybe we could be the flagship for all of England, that we are doing the right thing. So I'm going to share some of the stuff that I wrote down. I wrote notes, and I'm going to also go to some statistics that he had in his presentation. So buckle in. And if you're not from Oxfordshire, hey, listen up, and maybe you could put this towards your local Integrated Care Board. Are we ready? So at the minute, Oxfordshire has the assessment capacity to do 400 ADHD assessments per year. Okay. Now, it's estimated that around 5% of the population, so across BOB, which is Buckinghamshire, Oxfordshire, West Berkshire, that means we should be having approximately 100,000 people who are diagnosed with ADHD. Now, current adult diagnosis is only 36,827. Okay. So nowhere near the 5% that we actually should be. And he actually said he actually thinks that it's probably higher than 5%. So that means there are so many more people out there who are undiagnosed and are living with ADHD and not realizing that they have ADHD, or maybe they're choosing not to go for a diagnosis. Who knows? And the current average age of an adult, this from 18 plus, is 25. Now, there's a really interesting scale of where of ages and has genders, and with women it's very predominantly it goes down for men as they get older, but as women get older it increases on the women's side. So it dwindles off for the men, it's lower, and then as they get older, and then the women as they get older it increases more. So not necessarily more than the men, it's still very much male heavy, but it increases percentage wise. Hopefully that makes sense. So currently there is no structure for pre or post diagnosis support in this pathway. And he was saying that it's very black and white. It's very binary thinking with doctors. It's either you have medication or you don't. And he's trying to help them understand that there are other ways. And when you look at how much medication right now is struggling, and obviously we've had all those shortages, it is being heavily relied on medication. I'm not saying that medication is a bad thing. If you want to take it, it's good. We won't talk about that's another story for another day. But if there are other things that could help, and there definitely are, I know with being an ADHD coach and having been coached myself and not being on medication, I have made masses of changes, huge changes from being coached, learning more, being around other people. There's so much value in that medication could also help with, but it's not going to happen on its own. Medication isn't a magic pill. You're still going to have these challenges that you have to face. and maybe doing things together, or doing one thing first on one thing and then the other thing. But not having anything other than medication is just like brilliant. Okay, so the future support, the vision for future support for ADHD looks like this. You don't need a diagnosis to have this support. You can get it pre-diagnosis, during your assessment period, and your post-diagnosis too, even without a formal diagnosis. They are looking at the idea of having a working diagnosis, so having pre-diagnosis like assessment tools. So you have a working diagnosis of it's very likely that you've got ADHD and that you can work with that, which I think is a really great idea. They're going to have these like screening tools and different like sub-threshold cases. With the ideas, with what they are coming up with of support and stuff, they are working on a website, which is something that we got to contribute in, of what should be like imminently available on the web page, and what like content should be on the website, like what categories should we be working with. And it's going to be a flexible delivery as well. So there will be things that are in person, there will be things that are online, there will be different for digital platforms, and they really want to create a mobile app, which I think is great. And they really put in thought of like having like alerts and reminders. That's something that we really struggle with being ADHD. So I like that they've put that in there. So the short-term plan is to launch this comprehensive website with all the information and resources across multiple ADHD topics. And we were talking everything from like women's like hormones, relationships, parenting, working tools. We were also talking about having resources potentially for parents. We were also talking about maybe having resources for partners, for colleagues, for bosses, for family members, so that they could understand their person that they love, are supporting, are working with, and their ADHD. But the long-term plan is to develop this app. So having personalized ADHD friendly tools, offering well-being tracks on there, like having some way to gamify it would be amazing, including medication tracking and reminders and alerts again. And this will also be more cost effective than sending text messages, he was saying. I didn't know how much that cost, but that was an eye-opener to me. And then potentially integrating it with smartwatches too, and other health tools, and then creating this way of having a feedback loop, so between patients and clinicians, and then providing accessible ADHD tips and executive function support all within this app. That is the long-term plan. Then the other part of the plan is to have this community-led support structure. And this is where I'm really excited, because this is where I get to come into this and have a part. So the model is going to include in-person and online support groups, social education events, virtual peer groups, monthly workshops, expert-led webinars, like for example on like executive functioning, AI, etc., and then having a Your Voice platform for feedback and shared resources. So the idea with the in-person support groups is they ask the room. We were invited there, and we're now invited to put a proposal together to have multiple year funding from this NHS scheme to have this support group running to help other people. He was saying that this is the best thing. Having peer-led support groups is something that's actually going to be tangible. It's going to be able to be put into effect immediately. And it's not something that people are going to have to be on a waiting list for. It's something that people can connect with. And there are already support groups running. And this is something that I've wanted to do for ages. But the idea of having to do another thing for free, another thing volunteering, as well as trying to work and be a mum and be a partner and walk my dogs and look after myself and do the food shopping, was putting me off. I'm not going to lie. I was trying to think, where can I squeeze it in? Because I'm already volunteering and running like a family group for SEND families. That takes up time and effort and energy. And I'm already doing that. And I don't obviously want to part ways with that. And then obviously I have work, I have my big business, I have my podcast now that I'm doing, and I want to keep going because we're here, we're loving it. So doing the free stuff again was putting me off doing it. But now they're saying that they're basically going to support us and they're going to fund us. And it's not something that I'm going to have to like rely on people showing up. Obviously, I want people to show up, please show up. But it's not like I'm going to be losing money if I'm hiring a space and no one shows up on the first few weeks. It means my back's covered and I'm not putting my ass on the line. So the idea is they have an umbrella of VCSE, which I think stand for Voluntary Community and Social Enterprise Partners. So they are basically the people who I would go to and be like, I've got this proposal, please could you put it forward? And then they would kind of deal with the financial side. They'd get the money in and then they would dish the money out to the proposal. And it would mean that I then wouldn't have to because that would be a headache. Like, I can't even imagine how much of a headache that would be. So they handle the headache because they're used to doing that. That's what they do for multiple companies anyway. And Restore is one of the place where we had it in Cowley, and she does this already. So she was saying this is something that's not new to her, so obviously she understands, blah, blah, blah. And yes, it will be, the idea is to have these specialist groups. So mine is going to be for women. That is what I've created. I actually launched it within 36 hours. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to throw it out there. I've been working on it ever since I left that meeting, basically thinking of ideas and thinking of how it's going to be shaped, asking questions to myself that I want to ask other people, but not actually saying it out loud, or just talking to my husband, who's completely, and my son, completely irrelevant because they're not men. I mean, they are men, they're not women. So I thought, why not launch it on International Women's Day, share it with the world, and then get the community to tell me what it is they want? Because I've got big ideas. I've got, huge ideas of what we could do with it, of being an actual, not just support, but an actual tool that's going to help us with our productivity. Anyway, huge ideas, which I'm going to be discussing with them. So I shared it we're getting the ball rolling, and I'm going to be asking them what it is they want to see from it before I share my ideas, so that it is a group made not just by me, but by everyone. And it's something that people actually want, rather than me just thinking it's what people want. Because sometimes they're very different things, right? So it is the ADHD Women of Oxfordshire network. I don't know if I like the word network, but that's what we're going with right now. And we'll see how it comes. I came up with those different ideas and acronyms and stuff, and I just thought, no, it needs to be something really obvious of what it is. And women, because I am a woman, I work with women. I do have some male clients, but it's just very different. And I think sometimes women just need a safe space with just women to share. And there are other people who can do other groups for men or for both, but that is what I'm choosing to do. So now I'm getting ideas, starting to build a proposal to put towards them for this multiple year funding. And the idea is that it's not the NHS taking over our group, it's being able to help the community who, I know lots of people from doing what I do, working with families, and then the parents end up being ADHD as well, and they're on this journey. So I am able to be on the forefront. And obviously I am also trained as well, so that does help. But it doesn't matter. Some of the people were not professionals as well in their qualifications, but just through lived experience. And that is probably what's more important in some ways than another. So the whole idea of this is that they are working towards a needs-led framework, which is what they do for our children at school. And I think it's a great idea that they are working towards this for adults as well. It's currently nothing like this is being put in place for children, but there is plans to hopefully go ahead with something similar for children as well. So that is all my notes that I have read out. It was so lovely to be part of this and to feel hopeful that something better is coming for the future of ADHD. And he actually said how autism, there are so many autism charities out there. There are so many autism groups and stuff out there. And they have, I can't remember how many years ahead. It was years ahead of us, of the ADHD. See this to be 100% true. Because when we did our big event last year called Send Together, every stall was autism this, autism that. There was not one stall that mentioned ADHD. They might talk about autism and ADHD, but there was no one that had a big banner that was ADHD this, ADHD that. Nothing ADHD specific, which I thought was really interesting. Definitely a gap for more ADHD support. And there probably is stuff out there, but sometimes you just don't hear of it, or this short there. But still, there needs to be more. The more the merrier. We're not in competition. It's all about collaboration and getting it out there for the communities. So I'm very excited with this proposal. It's one of those things that is on my brain 24/7. When you just literally this morning when I was getting the kids ready for school, I was just writing notes. I'm no, I need to focus on getting lunchboxes done because I was not prepared last night. And yeah, I wrote some notes and I had to stop myself and be no, I must stop. So yes, very excited to get this going, ADHD Women of Oxfordshire, and see what happens. And I'm gonna arrange to have a meeting with those. If you are from Oxfordshire and not in there already, just search us up on Facebook, and I will then get together with these ladies, as many as we can, get some questions, see what they want support wise. Then I'll share my ideas, see what they think about those, if they're any good, if they're a load of rubbish, which, you never know. I'm open to feedback, and see what we can do to make a better future for ADHD women in Oxfordshire. So excited. Thanks so much for listening. And if you liked this episode, please do share it. Please do tag a friend in any of the social media stuff. If you have any questions, send me a DM or email. It's lovely to hear from you. And thank you so much for being here. And I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.